Hi everyone. I wanted to give you a brief description of what to expect in kindergarten in math. So I'm going to talk about my philosophy of math instruction and then another strategy for how to teach effectively and make sure that your student eventually gets to independent mastery. And I'm also going to show you some screenshots of a few activities that we will be doing during our morning meetings once we start working with the students. All right, so my first concept that I want to describe is something that I learned in college called garden mathematics. When I first began this class, I actually thought we were going to learn math by building a garden. But I was wrong. It's just a philosophy behind how to teach math. So typically, a curriculum will conquer a topic. Let's say time comes first, and you nourish it with your watering can there. You nourish it with practice and instruction, and then you move on to the next thing. Now you talk about money, and you're not paying any attention to the time concepts anymore. You've switched gears and now you're just focusing on money. So you're nourishing that topic, and then comes along measurement, and now you're not spending any time on learning about time or money. All your focus is with measurement. And then from there, you go to place value. So you catch the drift that you're doing one thing at a time. So garden mathematics is a concept where you're going to practice a little bit of everything every time you meet. So you would nourish the concepts of time, money, measurement, place value, adding, subtracting, graphing. You nourish all of it every time you meet. And each time you meet, all those skills are growing, all those skills are thriving, and all those skills are getting stronger. And so that's the concept of how we are going to be doing our morning meeting. So our morning meeting is going to be really focusing on spiral review. So you may notice that we do similar things each time that we meet together. It's to really make sure that we're consistently practicing those skills, and then you're going to notice over time that the skills are going to increase in difficulty as they have mastered the beginning levels. So we will be sprinkling nourishment, so to speak, on a lot of different topics. So let me show you a few of my screenshots. So at the beginning of our morning meetings, we'll talk about the date and really get the kids familiar with calendars. We might go into time and the days of the week, and then we might switch gears and talk about numbers and building numbers, making sure that they really can see numbers being built with 10 frames and tally marks and counting blocks, and just making that one-to-one correspondence very strong. Then we might swing over and talk about weather and thermometers, and then we might swing over and do some adding and subtracting and ordering numbers. So you can see that there's a lot of variety in the topics, but we touch on it each one a little bit every time we meet. And so each of our morning meetings is going to have a little bit of math and a little bit of reading. But maybe one day we might focus a little bit more heavily on math, and another day we might focus a little bit more heavily on reading. But they're going to get a little bit of practice in a lot of different topics. So you can kind of keep this in mind as you are watching your child work with me, and just know that we are trying to build up and nourish a lot of different areas of math and reading. Okay, so now I want to move into a philosophy of teaching called I do, we do, you do. This is how I teach on a regular basis, and this is how you could teach on a regular basis with any topic: science, social studies, phonics, language arts, math, anything that you are teaching your child. You could use the I do, we do, you do. And honestly, you probably already do this and you don't realize this is a philosophy of teaching. um, but so if you think of riding a bike, that's a really good example. So you have demonstrated to your child how to ride a bike, how to balance. You have shown them on your bike, and then all of a sudden they get on their new bike with the training wheels and your hands on either side of them, showing them how to move their legs, and you're going down the driveway. And then you take off the training wheels and you are hanging onto that bike, maybe with one hand, and then every once in a while taking your hand off the bike and grabbing it again if they're a little too wobbly. And then eventually they take off on their own without any support from you. And that's exactly what this is. I do is when the teacher is explaining something or demonstrating. The student is very neutral, just observing. The teacher is doing the talking and all the work, showing from step one all the way to the end how to do a problem. Then you move into the we do, where you are working on examples together, working through mistakes, talking about them, reteaching as needed, trying more problems. You're doing a lot of prompting, a lot of scaffolding. You are maybe prompting, okay, what's step one? Okay, what's step two? No, that's not what we're doing. Remember, step two is this. So lots and lots of prompting. Now, in my experience, a lot of learning coaches tend to stop at this stage and mark that they have mastered that lesson, and they move on to the next thing. But what they don't realize is how heavily their student has relied on them to prompt them through a problem. And then what we see is when students eventually get to third grade and they have to take their first SOL all by themselves without their parents, they just freeze and they don't know how to go through an entire problem without any prompting. So you always want to make sure you get to step 3, which is you do. So you want to make sure that the student, this is when the teacher now is very neutral and the student is very active. The student is trying a problem from step 1 all the way through the end. Teacher or learning coach is hands off. They're just observing the student to see if they remember all the steps, everything of what to do. And if not, then if the student gets stuck, you go back to we do. You do a few more examples together. You try it out again. You prompt them as they need, and when you think that they understand, you try the you do moment again, where you give them a problem and say, okay, you do this one all by yourself. This is an assessment mode. We do is teaching mode. You're showing them, you're demonstrating them, you're prompting them. Now, you do is an assessment mode, and this is when we don't say anything and we watch to see if they fully understand it 100% independently. And if you notice that they have achieved this, they can do it from step 1 all the way to the end without any prompting from you, then you know your child has mastered that and they're ready to go on. So this process is very fluid. You'll go back and forth through these, but you always want to end on the you do where the child was successful. That's called independent mastery. So you can use this teaching method whenever you're teaching your child anything at all. You always want to see if they got it all by themselves. All right. So that is all that I had for you about math. I just wanted to give you a little peek into my mind and how it's going to work. And then as we are in the morning meetings, I want you to think of this as kind of like a model for you. What you can do in your home every day with your child, what types of practice you can do every day. So they'll meet with me Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but you could continue this on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays together with your child. And so what we're going to provide for you is called a Bitmoji classroom. So this girl right here, this is my Bitmoji. I think she's a little thinner than I am, but that's okay. But she will have her own little classroom on the screen, and in her classroom is going to be lots of little pictures. And for example, you might see counting blocks, and if you click on the counting blocks, it's going to take you to a website where you can practice with counting blocks. Or it might show a clock, and if you click on the clock, it'll take you to a website where you can practice clocks. And so the Bitmoji Classroom is for you to use to have your own morning meeting and practice, just like the garden mathematics. Do that spiral review of all the different skills they're learning. Maybe you know that they need to practice their letter names. So you can click on the little icon that looks like letters, and it will take you to a website with a game or a song about identifying their letter names. So you're going to have access to that every day, and you can access that and just have your own morning meeting and or own consistent practice if you want to do it in the morning, or if you want to do it at the end of the day as a reward, or maybe let them take a break from the online school and then say, okay, you can play in the Bitmoji classroom, and let them do that. However you want to use it, it's going to be a tool for you with lots of really great, fun, interactive places to play and practice their skills. Alright, so I'm going to be sending out a video that explains the Bitmoji Classroom and demonstrates the different types of links that you can get to. I'm going to send that out to you on Monday of next week. So you can be looking for that, and that will give you a little sneak peek into it and just a little tutorial. All right, well, I appreciate you watching this video today, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. You can go ahead and click on this link that I sent to you in your email and fill out the survey and let me know you viewed the video. All right, thank you.